Let's talk about benign prostatic hyperplasia. What does hyperplasia mean? It means enlargement. Okay, so this BPH problem is basically an enlarged prostate. It affects your urination. The stream of your urine is a bit on the weak side. You might find that you dribble after you urinate, and you just might have the sensation that your bladder is not empty. So, we're going to talk about this, and there's actually this one drink that you can consume every day to help you shrink the prostate. But more important than the remedy is to understand the mechanism and how you develop this problem in the first place. A lot of men, as they get older, develop this condition, and some even develop prostate cancer. So, this video is going to cover both topics. So, basically, you have this prostate that is just underneath your urinary bladder, and there's a little tube that comes out of the urinary bladder. Okay, that's called the urethra, and the prostate wraps around that. And normally it should be small, but when it enlarges, it becomes bigger and it can constrict the little tube that allows urine to flow and even become so big it can push up into the urinary bladder, decreasing the volume of your urinary bladder. So you really don't have the full capacity to hold urine. All of the estrogen that women have and that men have actually originate from testosterone. So estrogen is a byproduct of testosterone. And to convert testosterone to estrogen, you need this enzyme called aromatase. And aromatase is made by the testicle as well as your fat cells. So that's number one of this foundation. Number two, excess estrogen increases the size of the prostate. That's interesting because you probably thought that your problem was too much testosterone. But if that's true, then why does testosterone decrease with age? In men, estrogen increases with age. And like I said before, estrogen is an anabolic hormone. It makes things get bigger. Here's another little thing. Intraprostatic estrogen levels, that means the estrogen within the prostate, is not dependent on the estrogen in the blood. So you can't really figure out how much estrogen you have in the prostate by measuring the levels in your blood. Estrogen also increases another hormone called prolactin that can also increase the size of the prostate. Phytoestrogens, certain phytochemicals in plants, can mimic estrogen, but not very strongly. In fact, very weakly. So if we look at human estrogen compared to plant estrogen is basically about 10,000 to 140,000 times less strong. So this is why sometimes people are confused when they're eating certain plants and herbs that might increase estrogen. It's a very, very, very tiny amount. And so you're never going to have to worry about becoming estrogen dominant if you consume any of these plant-based estrogen compounds. And I'm really talking about the phytoestrogens in pumpkin seeds and saw palmetto, and even certain types of soy. Of course, if you're going to do soy, you have to really make sure it's always organic because most of the soy is GMO. But the remedy that I'm going to recommend for the prostate is not any one of those. What I'm going to recommend is we focus on inhibiting that enzyme that I mentioned. Remember, we talked about testosterone turning into estrogen, okay, with help of that enzyme called aromatase. What we want to do is we want to inhibit that enzyme naturally. If you can inhibit that enzyme, you'll have less production of estrogen and hopefully you can shrink the prostate. Now, the first thing to know is how does this enzyme increase? Okay, because it does increase with age, unfortunately. And also, it can increase with body fat. This is why losing weight is an important thing. It can increase with insulin. I've talked a lot about that topic. In fact, if you're on keto, you're going to be a lot better off because you're then going to decrease that enzyme directly by reducing insulin. This is why even diabetics or people that do high carb diets have a big problem with the prostate. Now, another thing that increases this enzyme, alcohol. I'm sorry, it does. Alcohol is definitely a factor. It can actually just make more estrogen in your body. Another one is whole grains, so-called healthy foods that they say you should be consuming. And then you also have hormone replacement therapy or birth control pills, which you just need to know that like estrogen can also increase that enzyme. What will decrease that enzyme? This is the most important thing you need to know from this whole video. Number one, regular consumption of cruciferous vegetables like kale, broccoli, cabbage, arugula. All of the cruciferous have the capacity of decreasing that enzyme, helping you regulate this extra bit of estrogen that you have. Another thing that will help you is white button mushrooms. Make sure you saute them, don't eat them raw because you don't get the effect if you have it raw. Flaxseed, which I know some people are concerned it's going to increase your estrogen. It's not going to, but if you've heard conflicting information, you have two choices. You can actually read the studies down below or just omit that remedy altogether because it's not the most powerful one. Another remedy would be green tea, but the biggest remedy I'm going to recommend, okay, and I'm going to put the links down below, is citrus peel, okay, the peelings of lemon. Apparently, there is some really interesting things in lemon peel that not only inhibit that enzyme aromatase, but will perform all sorts of other benefits for not just the prostate, but for the whole body. There's actually 5 times more nutrition in that peel than the actual juice. So, in addition to losing weight with healthy keto, reducing the insulin, consuming cruciferous vegetables, what you need to do, you can do this at any time of the day. Take a whole lemon, okay, put it in the blender with a glass of water, okay, and then blend it, make it all nice and creamy, maybe blend it for 30 seconds. And you can also then add about 5 to 10 drops of liquid stevia, okay, to sweeten it. Or you can add 1/2 to 1 cup of blueberries, which also support the prostate as well. You can blend all that together and drink it as a shake, either with or without the blueberries. The lemon peel is the most important because we're trying to reduce that aromatase so we can reduce the estrogen and keep these ratios of higher testosterone or normal testosterone to lower estrogen. So out of anything you can do, those are the most important steps. Now, there's some other really cool benefits with lemon peels that if you haven't seen this video, you must watch it. I put it up right here.